Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to realestateinvestormba.com. At Real Estate Investor MBA, we strive to provide valuable information from various experts within the business and real estate community, covering real-time market and economic information as well as curriculum-level material within various real estate investing niches. We aim to be relevant, straightforward, and forthcoming with actionable information for our community. And here's your hosts, Tejas Gosai and Jeremy Moyer. Welcome to Lehigh Valley Private Equity Fund. Lehigh Valley Private Equity Fund is a Regulation D evergreen private fund designed to provide a 7% preferred return and an overall annualized target return of 12% through diversification in lending and acquisitions in the real estate industry. With over 100 years of combined real estate, investment, and management experience, our management team is actively sourcing opportunities and improving real estate in the Lehigh Valley and surrounding regions. The Lehigh Valley is booming. The private sector GDP is larger than 112 countries, standing at over $41.2 billion annually. Lehigh Valley Private Equity Fund uses three methods to create returns for our investors: qualified lending, buy and holds, and rehab resell projects. Our philosophy is simple: quality over quantity. Our primary goal is to protect our investors, and our strategy is to produce consistent high-yield returns. Thank you so much for visiting us. Contact us easily by visiting www.lvpefund.com or call us anytime 24/7 at 484-362-1313. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, to Real Estate Investor MBA for another exciting interview that we have lined up for you today. My name is Jeremy Moyer, and I am one of the hosts for the program, and I'm flying solo today. My co-host, Tejas Gosai, was not able to make it. Please check out our website, realestateinvestormba.com. We are also available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and please subscribe and download all the past episodes to listen to them. A lot of great content has been shared by prior guests. And if you think that we're providing value, please give us a 5-star review and leave us some feedback. In doing so, more people will be able to find us and listen to the insight from our interviewed guests. Now for the show today, I'm excited to announce our guest, Kelly McEllroy. Kelly has been in real estate industry since 1999. She started with new construction at Traditions of America. After working several years for new construction, she ventured into the resale market. Her main concentrations were in foreclosures, property management, and resale transactions. Kelly recently joined the Allentown Redevelopment Authority as the assistant director, where she was able to work with grant funding and learn more about the government processes involved with redevelopment. One of the main things that she has learned over the years is that houses need a purpose, just like people. If they lose their purpose, they start falling apart, and it is costly to bring them back to life. This is especially true with foreclosures and blight properties. As with any transaction, being involved and invested from start to finish produces the best results. She loves seeing construction from start to finish and ending with a family falling in love with their new home. Kelly, I want to thank you for your time today and joining with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
I'm excited too as well. Can you briefly talk about how you came to the Lehigh Valley area and why real estate? What intrigued you to enter this industry initially in 1999?
Well, I actually started in 1999. I was looking for a job, and there was an ad in the paper for just some clerical work with Traditions of America. And when I started there, I got very involved with real estate, and I just kind of liked how people would come into the model homes and then they would just fall in love with them, and the houses sold very, very quickly. And just like I said, from being from the start to the finish involved in the process, it's very exciting. the houses kind of speak to people, and they kind of find a house that they love and they want to have memories in it, and it was a great thing. So I always just kind of loved being involved in real estate.
Absolutely. I love the you gave me a little bio to read in the beginning. The houses have a purpose, just like people. I loved reading that because I bought a few homes, throughout my my lifetime so far, to live in, and you kind of you're right. You get that feeling. You just know this is the one, right?
This is fun. They have energy. They almost kind of speak to us. Not that they really do, but they have an energy, and you just walk into the house and you're like, this is my house. So it's just really nice when you have that feeling and you can really obtain the property, and it helps fulfill your family memories.
Absolutely. No, I love that. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to jump into your work at the Redevelopment Authority. Can you explain the Blight property process for our listeners if they're not aware of what it is?
Sure. So can I explain kind of what the Redevelopment Authority does, and then we can get into the Blight process? So
Yeah.
we actually are, we're a separate entity from the city, but we work very closely with the city as a useful tool. We actually have two things to perform. So we have the ability to kind of help the city redevelop areas that are in need of redevelopment. With anything, the world is constantly changing. So there may be an area that needs some attention, needs some redevelopment with the growing population. Just it needs some updating with what it currently has. But we also have the ability to take properties through the eminent domain process. So that is for properties that are, dilapidated. They have to be actually certified blighted. They have to meet one of the 12 criteria of blight. And there is a law that we actually have to follow. It's with the Urban Redevelopment Law, and it's 1712. So there's 12 criteria of blight. And so that is how the property starts the blight process. So the blight process, because we work hand in hand with the city actually will notify the owner of a property that has a blight issue. And then they notify the property owner that it meets one or more of the blight criteria. After that, there is a meeting that they set up with the Blight Property Review Committee and also the Allentown Planning Commission that they bring in front of the properties in front of those both boards. And then what happens is they first determine that the property meets those criteria of blight. There is an appeal period for the homeowner to correct those issues. If those issues are not corrected within the appeal period, they then bring those same properties back again in front of those two boards, the Blight Property Review Committee and the Allentown Planning Commission, and then they actually certify the property blighted. Once the property is certified, we as the Redevelopment Authority can actually take the property through eminent domain. It doesn't sound very nice, but it's something we actually have to do because we all just want compliance. Blight is it's a sad thing. Sad is blight is a property that lost its purpose. It's either a homeowner that couldn't make the repairs that were needed, or they lost their job, or it's an investor that wanted to make it big and wanted to do something but actually didn't have the wherewithal to repair the properties.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So then how long does that process typically take from the initial identification to, and then if it ends up going all the way through to the eminent domain of actually taking the property back?
So it is, eminent domain is, from the start, from the Building Standards and Safety Department, first initially notifying the owner of the notice of blight till it gets into our inventory. It is a very long process. Now, if we didn't have, any hiccups or we didn't have anything in between, from start to finish, it usually takes about a year. But what happens is, we really don't want to take properties. Like we're not here to drop the hammer just whenever. We want people to, stay in their homes, fix the homes. We just want compliance. So then we have to add in, the personal attributes, because people want to fix their houses and we have to allow them to fix their houses. So every property is really different. So, but a normal time frame is about a year.
Okay, and then if I'm not going to ask you to list all 12 right here, if our listeners wanted to see what those criteria were, is it listed on a website that they can go to?
Yes, so we are actually, our website is Allentown Redevelopment Authority. I'm sorry, AllentownRedevelopment.com. It's under construction. So actually, they can go to the AllentownPA.gov, and if they go under Government and they go under Authorities, the Redevelopment Authority tab is there. And if they go to the Blighted Property Review Process, the Blight criteria is there.
Oh, perfect. Now this is really helpful. So this is a resource that we'll share in the show notes for everybody that's listening. As Kelly mentioned, their main website is going to be, there'll be a new one, but it's under construction right now. But at least for right now, this is a place that you can see inventory, do requests for proposals, and then also see the blight process and those 12 criteria as well. Now, this is great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
So next question that I have for you. So, I look at a lot of data. Tejas, my co-host, also looks at a lot of data, with the housing market and also the larger business and job market locally here. And over the past year, we've been talking with also a lot of experts in different sectors. Several of them actually have been on our show previously. We always ask what are their predictions of what they expect to happen over the next few years, especially here in the Lehigh Valley. And most of the people believe, or at least allude to, they believe that the Lehigh Valley is somewhat insulated from a housing perspective from when you look at a lot of different factors when comparing to different markets. So we're seeing more investors coming into the market here, from out of state, or more people locally here that are interested in investing in housing here locally. I think they're coming to probably similar conclusions as well. What is the best way for investors to work with you and the Redevelopment Authority to assist the city in, removing the blight from the neighborhoods? I want to say most of us want to keep our neighborhoods in a better condition and remove that blight. So what is a way that we can all help?
Well, so one way that they can help is, when we take properties through the eminent domain process, we kind of have to know what we're going to be doing with them, because we can't just take properties and then say, what are we going to do? We have to know what we're doing before we take them, because that's just a good business plan. So if an investor is really interested in working with us, they can give us a call they can email me or call me, and then we can add them to our distribution list. And, we advertise in the morning call. And then we also, when we have a property that's ready to go out for an RFP, we will send an email to our distribution list, which will have a packet of information, what the property is like now, what we are looking for it to be. And then they would submit a proposal. We are a board-driven entity, so at a meeting, the board would review all the proposals and then select the awardee, and then we would just kind of follow the property until it's ready to go back out into the community as code compliant and tax right.
Okay, that's perfect. So for listeners, RFP stands for request for proposal, right?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And then when you put those out for bid, is always the highest price offer awarded, or is the history of working with that investor comes into play? What are some criteria that help an investor win a bid with the city? What is the city? Yeah.
So it's really not always the best price. We're really just looking for the best use, so the property doesn't come back to us, in a couple years. We want it to, get its purpose and maintain its purpose. So, if it's a 2-unit or a 3-unit, maybe it's deconverting it into a single unit, or if vice versa, if it's a single unit and it needs to be a multi-unit, it's just that, and having the correct materials to do the construction. If it's in a historic district, that they're following the rules of the historic district. We just really it's really best use of the property. It's not always the highest bid.
Okay, and could investors engage with the city or your department to determine what the best use would be prior to bidding?
So, because it is board driven and it's a public procurement policy.
Yeah.
You know, we can provide as much information as what we would kind of like it to be, but they could present the proposal to the board and then the board would make the decision. But, you know, we have to be careful with, you know, the conversations between until the awardee is selected.
Yeah, like backdoor type of deal. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think this is, I'm asking the questions just to give our listeners all the information so they're prepared. So they can just go to the website to get onto the list. Is that the best way of doing it? Okay.
Yep. They can go onto the website and it has my email, and then they can, you know, give me a call or send me an email, and I will gladly add them to the distribution list. And like I said, we do have to do a public notice, so that's advertised in the newspaper as well. So they'll know that, and there'll be ample time for them to, you know, write up plans, you know, get their proposal together. We actually also have an open house of the property, so they can kind of go through the property and see what really is entailed with our properties. Because, you know, our properties are not just like quick flips, you know, they're really blighted properties. They're called blighted because they really are. So there is a lot of work that's needed for our properties.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So for some projects that come through the process, the blighted process, and eventually taken back, do they all go out to RFP or to investors, or does the city take on any projects themselves?
So the Redevelopment Authority actually hasn't been functioning for a while before, you know, I got here. About 2017 is when we really started to get back up and running. So because we had some inventory that has been kind of lying dormant for a while, they had a lot of deterioration. So we really couldn't put the inventory that we had out for the public, because it really wouldn't have been fair. You know, the repairs that we had on them, you know, were very expensive. So for somebody, even an investor or a community group, to spend, you know, $200,000 on a repair to, you know, get $125,000 back after they sold it wasn't really fair. So we took on the responsibility to do the internal rehabs. We've had amazing results. We actually have 5 projects that we've completed. We have 4 that have sold, and we have 1 under agreement. And it really is amazing to see the transformation of the properties, you know, from the blight status. You know, you walk into the homes and there's rain coming down and it's not even raining, you know. So, and then now they walk in and they're beautiful properties. So that was very exciting. So yeah, so we have been taking on some rehabilitation projects. Now going forward, you know, it's a lot of money, and, you know, we are government funded. So, you know, we can't be taking on all the projects. So we are going to have, you know, 1 or 2 projects that we'll maintain in our inventory, and then we'll RFP them out.
Great. Do you mind sharing a past one of the properties that you currently were able to rehabilitate and sell?
Sure, I can tell you all about them.
Okay.
Listen, actually, our first one was 147 Susquehanna Street. That one settled last July. It sold for $164,900. We actually had non-restricted funds that we used on that project. It had multi offers. It was amazing. We also had 341 North 7th Street. That one we rehabbed into a residential. We sold that this year. And then we have 824 Tillman Street. That actually was a property that was donated from Wells Fargo. It was a foreclosure, so they donated it to us, which was great. We rehabbed that, and then that one settled. The next project that we have, I'm a little partial to. It's 621 Front Street. That property has been a community nuisance since 2011, and we actually rehabbed that into a beautiful 2-unit. And it actually is under agreement right now, and it's supposed to settle the end of the month. So I'm very excited about that one.
That's great. So is the idea then, I'm not 100% sure myself, so is the idea it comes through the blight process to eminent domain, and then it's determined if the city's going to take it, the board of directors, right? It's determined if the city's going to keep it, rehab themselves, if it's too costly, or do an RFP. In the city, if they rehab it themselves, like do you just use contractors that are approved with the city to do the work? Is that how that works?
Yeah. So if we do internal rehabs, we have a rotating list of contractors that we've used before, and they're preferred, and they meet all the criteria that's needed as per our procurement policy. But when we send a property out for RFP, it's for local contractors or redevelopers that they have the ability to perform the work necessary to bring the property to compliance.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can you also talk a little bit about grant funding and the governmental processes for redevelopment?
Sure. So we, as an entity, we are government funding. So when sometimes when we take a property through the eminent domain process, we do use grant funding for the acquisition. Because we do use that grant funding, there is restrictions on the end use of that property. So the end use of the property needs to be for a low to moderate income occupant, either a rental or a homeowner. And then the deed restriction will follow the property for 10 years, just to maintain that low to moderate income level.
Okay. And if someone wants to find out more information on the grant funding, is that also on the website, or is there a better resource?
Yep, so they actually can contact the city's CED department, and there is, if a contractor wants to see what grants are available for them to perform work, they can contact them, and they would be able to connect them in the right direction with what they have the ability to do.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to round up the interview. You've been extremely helpful explaining some of these processes and directing the listeners to some of the resources that are available. We ask the same question for every guest. What's your favorite restaurant here in the Lehigh Valley?
What's my favorite restaurant in Lehigh Valley? That's tough. Tacos and Tequila is probably my favorite restaurant.
Awesome. Good choice. That's great. So, and we mentioned a few times before, if anybody wants to reach Kelly, they can go to the website. Your email's on there. We'll put that in the show notes. Is that the best way of doing it?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. To our listeners, if you see value that we're providing, please leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Also provide some feedback on what you like about the show. Also tell 5 other people about our show so we can help change lives together. Everyone, this is Kelly McEllroy with the Allentown Redevelopment Authority. I'm Jeremy Moyer with the Real Estate MBA. Take care. Cheers.
Thank you.